If I were to say that someone who experiences gender dysphoria or who expresses a transgender ideology or who is homosexual, whatever it might be, is somehow God's mistake, I would have to say that the whole world is God's mistake. And that's not the case.
I've heard that people say that homosexuality is a sin and transgenderism, I don't know if that's a sin or not, but if it is a sin, did God make a mistake of creating homosexuals or transgender people?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's a good question and it's a big one. Let me just answer the first thing and saying no. It's not a mistake. It's interesting because when we think about these conditions, people are, let's assume everyone's born with that condition. Let's say homosexuality is something you're born with. I'm not saying I agree with that, just let's say that's the case, we're born with it. Or transgenderism or gender dysphoria, okay, let's just say that. If that were the case, would that mean that God made a mistake? Well, the Bible says something very, very interesting. It says that all of us are born in a condition of sin. Okay, so in one sense, we're all born that way. My sin is not God's fault. I am broken in every way there is to be broken, and so are you. You're not broken in some ways, you're broken in every way. And every person is too. Now, the way it's expressed, your brokenness is expressed, whether it's a sexual brokenness because of porn addiction, or it's a sexual expression because of same-sex attractions, or whatever it is, that's a different story. That's a matter of hashing it out in terms of everybody's individual issues. But we're all born that way. And that's not because of him, that's because of us. We decided to go our own way. You know what sin is? Sin is just saying to God, I am you. Think about the first sin. The very first sin that human beings did was they ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil when God said, don't eat of that. Actually, in some ways, the very first sin was that Adam and Eve reinterpreted God's words for him. Because when Satan comes along and says, did God really say you shouldn't eat this? And Eve says, and by proxy Adam, because my guess is they probably had the same thoughts, was, oh, no, we can't even touch it. He never said that. He never said that. They made that up. They took God's place. And so the truth was they were supposed to be with God. Their preference was, that's what post-truth all is. It's elevating preferences over truth. Their preference was they wanted to be God. So the first post-truth people were the first people. We're all born that way. So it's not God's mistake. It's not. It's ours. What we have done to ourselves. And so the world has cascaded in its sin ever since then. And God has tried his best to bring us back from that cascading sin by bringing his son. You can't say that God didn't try his hardest. He gave his only son for us. I mean, what else could he possibly do? But sanctification is a process. And so if I were to say that someone who experiences gender dysphoria or who expresses a transgender ideology or who is homosexual, whatever it might be, is somehow God's mistake, I would have to say that the whole world is God's mistake. And that's not the case. We are here because of what we did. But heaven exists because God is correcting what we did to his creation and what we did to ourselves. And so God's glory is that he did not leave us to ourselves and to our mess. He says, I will enter into your world. Every other worldview, by the way, makes it your obligation to fix you.